And then I heard, what? From over my shoulder. And I turned around, and there was the designer right there. And I said, well, wait, how did you just get up there and then get... And she said, oh, you just saw the ghost. Hi, I'm Carley, an author and freelance director and teacher. And the ghost story that I want to share happened to me back in May 1994 in the town of Lindsay, Ontario at the Academy Theatre. Now, I've been hired on a community outreach grant to direct a show for the local community group in Lindsay, and I was doing a classical comedy. At the same time, I was teaching the acting Shakespeare program at George Brown Theatre School in Toronto, so I was commuting weekday evenings to Lindsay, and then I was there on the weekends for full-out rehearsals. And the show had been going along really, really well, and we'd arrived at the technical weekend, and as always is the case, there's still more touch-ups to be done, usually on the set. So we'd finished a long day of tech on this Saturday. I think it was the last Saturday of May in '94. And the set designer was going to stay behind to do some touch-ups. Now, I have a background too in scenic design, so I offered to help. So there we were. We locked ourselves in the theater. We had a little work light to shine up on the set so we could see the detail work we were doing, and we set about it. Now, this set designer, she was an amazingly creative person. She was on the eccentric side, and so she loved to wear like long skirts and sort of peasant blouses. So she kind of dressed in a Victorian way every day, and she even painted in this blouse and long dress without getting a speck of paint on her. It was truly a marvel. And we worked late into the night, and I think it was around midnight, because it seems these things always happen around midnight. And she said, okay, well, I think we're finished. And she said, I'm just going to go and, wash these rollers and clean up the brushes and whatnot. Okay. So I said, sure. And so she was gathering up the brushes and whatnot. And I looked out over the audience, and it's a 600-seat theater in the old late 19th century design. And it was red, very red. And I looked out over it, and I imagined the audience there on opening night, and I was hoping it was all going to go well, because it was a real experiment doing this kind of classical theater in Lindsay, Ontario. And I looked up in the balcony, and suddenly I saw a figure up there in a Victorian dress and a Victorian blouse. And so I yelled out the designer's name. Hey, what are you doing up on the balcony? And then I heard, what? From over my shoulder. And I turned around, and there was the designer right there. And I said, well, wait, how did you just get up there and then get... And she said, oh, you just saw the ghost. I said, what? Ghost? She said, yeah, you just saw Mary. Mary is the Academy Theatre ghost. So she then began to explain to me the story of Mary. The theater was built in 1892, and on the third floor there lived a small family, and it was the father's responsibility to keep the coal going in the coal-burning furnace so the theater didn't freeze overnight, especially in the winter. And so the story goes that his young wife had been at the top of the stairs, and she had tripped and fallen down 3 flights of stairs and then landed on the bottom and broke her neck and died, and that her ghost haunts the Academy Theatre. And I was pretty unnerved by what just had happened to me, and so I said to the designer, "Is Mary a friendly ghost?" She said, "Oh no, yeah, she's a friendly ghost. She'd like to check in and see what's going on. However, she's a bit of a critic because there are certain shows that have played here or musical acts that come in that if she doesn't like it, you'll start hearing things banging and crashing around the theater and occasionally even a scream or two. So I was kind of secretly hoping that we wouldn't be hearing screams on the opening night of my show. And she also said, if you want to make sure you're going to see Mary at night, you want to come and sit in seat number 13. And I said, what row? And she said, it doesn't matter what row, as long as you're in seat number 13, that seems to bring Mary out. Now, that one I thought was a bit of a stretch, but I didn't further question her on that, and I certainly made sure on opening night that I wasn't sitting in seat number 13. So we packed up pretty quickly, because I was a little spooked nonetheless, and when we left. And the show opened, it did fine, it did well, and all that, but that was 27 years ago, in May of 1994. Now, since then, of course, we have the arrival of the internet. And when all those paranormal shows began to start appearing on all those different cable networks, on 2 occasions, those people from those paranormal shows have gone to the Academy Theater to see if they can communicate with Mary. And I guess on 2 occasions they have communicated with Mary, and I think on an old custodian as well who limps around at times, and the theater apparently is filled with ghosts, which isn't surprising. And even now on the Academy Theater website, they make a reference to Mary, the theater ghost, and I think sometimes critic. So that's my one and only experience of seeing a ghost in the theater. And yeah, thank you.